Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This bill, as we know, it seeks to ban fur and skin farming of certain animals. And to quote directly from the explanatory memorandum published by the Oireachtas, there is now a broad consensus among veterinary and other scientific experts that certain animals should not be farmed for their fur or skin because of serious animal welfare concerns that cannot be mitigated. There are also increasing serious societal concerns in this regard. Now, first of all, I'm always very concerned about the use of phrases like a broad consensus. History and current events should display very clearly and that the dangers of using broad consensus as a way of justifying decisions. And let me give you an example. We would have been 20 months ago told that there was a broad consensus not to wear masks. But a few weeks later, they were made compulsory. More recently, in fact, only a few weeks ago, there was a broad consensus from NEFIT that antigen testing wasn't worth a damn. In fact, the term used was snake oil. And now the broad consensus is that they should be mandatory. There was a broad consensus at the start of the vaccination programme that 2 doses would be enough. And now the so-called broad consensus is that we need at least 3 and maybe more. So recent events alone should warn us against making law based on notions of such as broad consensus. And I think if we look more carefully at the arguments in favour of supporting this bill, I would be very concerned at some stage in the future where very similar arguments would be used to try and ban or curtail more mainstream farming of animals. We already hear talk about the ridiculous notion that limiting or reducing the total herd in Ireland will somehow make a material impact on climate change. Now, we see through the withholding of cap payments until certain eco-schemes are put in place and that farmers are already being targeted in an unfair manner. The reason, of course, that the fur farming bill will receive government support is partly as a compromise to get the Greens on board in government negotiations, but also because it's an easy and relatively non-controversial way of making a government look compassionate. And there are only 3 fur farms in Ireland, so it's not going to be a big vote loser for any of the parties in government, but it sets a very concerning precedent. And I welcome the provision of a compensation scheme for those affected, because if this bill passes, then they're going to need it. But we can't just take away people's livelihoods without ensuring that they are financially compensated. And I'd ask the government to bear in mind, with regard to licence holding salmon drift net fishers, they might ensure that the same are compensated. But finally, Section 6 of the bill contains a definition of what a specified animal is. It goes on to list a whole host of different animals which this bill will apply to. And however, it further goes on to say that the Minister on the day may, by order, designate any animal or class of animal as a specified animal for the purpose of paragraph H of the definition specified animal in subsection. That gives the Minister of the day the power to add any animal he or she likes to be banned without ever having to consult this House again. And that would concern me, and for what might be laid before us in the future, and it would effectively give the Minister the power to close down the Irish woollen industry at the stroke of a pen. Thank you.